podcast live edition. This is, I believe, season 31, episode 24, The Problem with Female Judgment. Once again, we continue our delving into Jungian sexuality, and it's very important to be discussing this topic. Although quite controversial, I think that this topic is especially important for fathers and husbands to be aware of when it comes to the women in your life and understanding female psychology, especially from the perspective as your man, being able to provide a safe environment for the women in your life to be protected, especially protected from themselves. Naturally, as a man, with your male judgment can be so sharp and painful for women to deal with that oftentimes men have to exert the self-control such that they themselves are not damaging their women, they're not damaging their daughters, they're not damaging their wives, basically, or even damaging women in general that are in their life. And one of the ways that you can do that, obviously you have to, protect women from yourself in your life, naturally, as a man. You have to. Because sometimes, as Zach Rody would put it, there can be the wounded man, and the wounded man is as much of a danger to himself as he is to women in his life in general. And that, too, can be a very big problem. And sometimes what men fail to realize, men typically nowadays, especially in the United States of America, especially in Western society, men have this problem where they oftentimes are projecting their own masculinity and their own decision-making, their own male judgment onto women, because men are basically conditioned into believing that there is equality among the sexes, equality among the genders biologically, and conditioned into believing this myth when it comes to interacting with women in their lives. And they shouldn't do this. And what this ends up doing is it's actually really abusive and very damaging to women. I think it's entirely ridiculous, but I continue to see this over and over and over. In fact, actually, I had the honor of putting an INTP man who is married to his pedagogue type, an ENFJ woman, earlier today. And my male friends and I put him in an intervention. We put him on the hot seat, basically, and one of their call-outs is the fact that he continues to treat his wife like a man, basically, and expect her to have the same level as male judgment as him, which means basically he's inviting this woman to basically lead him, which puts her in a position of feeling unsafe and unprotected on a regular basis. Furthermore, he is also doing the same kind of damage to his daughters, basically, as a result of projecting his male judgment and assuming that the women in his life make decisions as rationally or as logically as he does. And most men in Western society actually do this error all the time, especially if they're very blue pill conditioned, as the red pill community would like to say, or as the woke community would like to say as well. And it continues to be a huge problem, to the point where it is so harmful for women that it actually stunts their growth. It actually flares up their hypergamous sexual strategy and actually further encourages women to basically cheat in an effort for their survival instinct to be activated. And it literally sets up women for failure in their lives. And honestly, I think it's entirely and utterly disgusting that men do this. And what's even more disgusting is that the red pill community actually ends up blaming women for this. Oh my God. When in reality of the situation, it's just a pure destruction of the mature masculine by Western society, the beast that rises from the sea, basically. And because of Western society doing this, women are, quite frankly, utterly miserable. They don't realize that they're miserable. They don't realize that they will be miserable. But the statistics that we see on a regular basis, especially brought about in this very controversial book by Myron Gaines, which is called Women Deserve Less, extremely controversial book, very painful read for men to read this book. It's fine. It's funny because, like, you know, when men read the Rational Male books, which are volumes 1 through 5, which are considered to be the red pill books, basically, and, you know, men go through this thing called the red pill flu, basically, when they read these books, because they just end up becoming angry with society and basically angry with women in general as a result. And they utilize what's taught by the red pill books as an excuse or as justification to continue to purport their unmanaged sexual strategy known as polygyny upon women, and then pump and dump women regularly, which is wrong and should never be allowed. But they continue to pump and dump women on a regular basis, and they become insanely abusive to women in general because of this, and they're using the red pill as an excuse to be very abusive, so even to the point of being sexually abusive to women consistently. Because pumping and dumping women is wrong. And you know, the red pill is definitely missing out on a lot of things. But in specific, at least the red pill goes out of its way to call out the fact that the genders are not equal, and equality between the genders is a myth. Women need equality, and they're projecting that need for equality on men, whereas men need inequality, and they're projecting their inequality onto women, basically, and expecting women to be just as rational and logical as them, which is wrong. And it sets up women for failure. It causes them to be completely and utterly miserable. And then we end up having stats, scary stats, about how the vast majority of working age women, 18 to 35, will be alone by 2030, okay? And one of the reasons this is happening is because men in general are projecting male judgment upon women. And this is false. This is wrong. This is false. Women are not supposed to be decision makers. Female judgment, sorry to say this, guys, but this is basically a truth bomb here. Female judgment is inferior to male judgment. It just is. Now, female perception is superior to male perception. I mean, because think about it. If men really could see what women can see, combining that with male judgment, men would have nothing to do with women because they would just see women as entirely and utterly manipulative and taking advantage of them consistently, to the point where men would actually literally have nothing to do with women. And this is where, like, the MGTOW, men going their own way, and the black pill movement actually come from, which also is quite abusive to women. So you end up having all these little pill movements or whatever, and the problem is that they're just terrible, and women end up becoming victimized in general by Western society, men in Western society, as a result. Because women are not actually allowed to be in their place in society, the place that they would actually want to be in. Because the thing is that when they're growing up as children, they never actually felt safe enough to be a woman to begin with. Women don't feel safe enough to actually want to be a housewife. They don't feel safe enough to actually want to become a mother, to the point where they're oftentimes questioning their own ability to be a wife or questioning their own ability to be a mother. Because their fathers are pushing upon them, hey, you know, you should go to school, go to college, get a job, right? Basically, the same thing that are taught to men. And this is actually a consistent problem, especially in the Far East. You know, when you look at Japan and look at South Korea, for example, they all have this education first plan, which ends up destroying women's lives in the process. And then people are not even having babies until their fertility is destroyed until their late 30s, which is actually harming the epigenetic health of their own children, which is also causing their population to drop because they're a bunch of idiots and they probably shouldn't do this. And as a result of that, well, these nations don't exactly have a future because these nations are running out of young people consistently. Why do you folks think that Russia actually outlawed pornography, and pornography is actually illegal in Russia? There's a reason for that, okay? It's just a band-aid. It's not actually solving the core issue. And one of the core issues just happens to be the fact that men are projecting male judgment onto women, because men in general don't actually understand how female judgment actually works. They don't understand it. And it gets to the point where, the red pillars and the black pillars and the MGTOW people are consistently accusing women of being liars. Consistently. But are women liars in general? I think there's a Pareto principle here. I think probably maybe 1 out of 5 times women are lying, whereas 4 out of 5 times they're not. Whereas if men are lying, 8 out of the times they're actually consciously, intentionally lying, versus 20% of the time men are not. Okay, because this is why in general women are holding men accountable for, I should be able to take you at your word. But for a man to project that onto a woman and project his male judgment onto a woman, have the expectation that he should be taking a woman at her word, actually makes a woman feel unsafe. Because oftentimes women themselves don't even know what they're saying. They don't even know what the decision is. They don't even know how to make a decision in a lot of cases, and they're looking for men in their life to lead them, especially their fathers. But we live in a fatherless generation. Their father can't even do this. They're looking to their husbands to lead them. But their husbands are projecting male leadership and male decision-making onto their wives, and it's making them feel unsafe and then set up for failure, so that when they do make a decision, they end up losing all respect for the men in their lives, such that the women have to have this position where they feel like they have to be a mother to their husband, right? Or they feel like they have to be a mother to their own father. And this too ends up becoming a problem and just blowing up in everyone's face consistently. It's absolutely terrible, right? And it's just dumb. And then these men end up accusing women of being liars. And they're not. They're not. They just don't know what they're doing. They just don't know, in general, what they're doing. 4 out of 5 times, they don't know. So men, stop projecting this onto women. Psychologically, that's not how female judgment actually works. Because today, so many times, they have daily cycles, right? Then they have weekly cycles. Then they have bi-monthly cycles. And then they have monthly cycles, menstruation, etc., They also have 6-month cycles, and then they have annual cycles, and so on and so forth, depending if they're pregnant or if they're breastfeeding or if they're not. Their hormones are changing consistently. And the amount of change in a woman's brain is so quick throughout the day that a woman ends up changing their mind constantly. So a man calling out a woman based on her contradictions, well, it needs to happen technically to actually help women become more conscious of their intellectual and decision-making fallibility that can be necessary in particular situations as a male leader of a woman, naturally. But the thing is, though, is that women themselves oftentimes are not even conscious of it, So whenever you're a man and a woman is telling you something in the moment, because they typically live in the moment mostly because of how chaotic they are, due to their changing of hormones, and they're constantly changing in their decision making, right? To the point where women are very inconsistent every single day. And it's because they are driven by their emotions, and emotions change consistently. And what is driving the change in emotions, if we're going to look at them physically, it's because of their changing hormones, basically, right? And that's literally changing their mental makeup on a regular basis. How about men actually give women a break? And don't actually hold women to this intellectual or this mental decision-making standard that we hold other men to, even though we've been conditioned by society to actually do this. And that, too, is a problem, right? It really is a problem. It shouldn't actually happen, okay? So, based on that, what do? What's actually happening fundamentally at the female psychological level? What's actually happening there? Well, there's a lot happening. There's so much happening in a woman's head, so much disorder. It's up to the man to produce a male leadership to help her sort out her feelings, so that, and then he makes decisions for her, basically, as a result of her sharing and expressing her needs, emotions, desires, and problems, especially her emotions, and expressing her feelings to him, and he needs to be devoted to her feelings so that he can lead her out of her emotional mess and back into a state of order, orderly decision-making, right? because it's his job to be providing feedback and critiques to the women in his life so that they are always ensured of making proper decision making. Because women, from a female judgment perspective, they're very good at mimicking men and they're very good at copying men, but they're not good at originating decision making, capable judgment on their own. They are relying on male judgment first and foremost and copying it. They are copying male judgment, or they are mimicking male judgment, but they are not actually able to produce male judgment on their own. And that is the key, okay? That is extremely important, okay? Because the reality of the situation is that all female judgment is projection. 100% of female judgment is projection, which means if you catch a woman judging somebody else, pointing the finger at you, or pointing the finger at someone else, they are either at that moment, they have either done the thing that they are judging someone else with, or they are actively doing the thing that they are judging someone about right then and there, or have recently done it. For example, if a woman accuses you of cheating, she's a cheater, basically. Yeah. If she's accusing you of cheating, it's because she's already been thinking about cheating on you, or she has cheated in the past. Yeah, that's how female judgment works. Literally. That's how female judgment works. All female judgment is projection, 100% projection. Women reveal themselves, thinking that they can hide from men consistently. Every time a woman judges somebody, okay, she is actually revealing her nature. She is revealing, because if she points a finger at someone else, that is always being pointed back at her at the same time, every single time. See, men can compartmentalize their judgment, where men can actually judge something without projecting. It is actually possible. 80% of the time within the Pareto principle, men are able to actually set aside their personal feelings and judge something impartially, judge something without influence, regardless of how they feel about a situation. Okay, but women can't do this. It is impossible for women to do this. And this is why female judgment is inferior, because it's all about projection. They are constantly projecting themselves onto everybody else, right? This is why they want to be around women that they can project onto and other women to project on themselves, because women want equality and they want to be around women that they feel equal to. That way they don't feel like they have to compete with those women, essentially. So female friends are based on whichever woman that she feels equal to the most, right? Versus her relationship with the man is basically how unequal she feels to him, with him being her superior, basically, right? If it's the other way around, well, that is not going to be a relationship and she's just going to friend zone the man, and that's just how that works. Okay? That's literally that. Clover made an interesting point in the chat. We don't see female engineers. Engineering is literally all about male decision making, okay? This is why I'd be really cautious about having female leaders in a business or female leaders, political leaders of a country, because again, 100% of female decision making is projection. It's a huge risk. And so because of this, you can't really take a woman at her word. You really can't. You can't take a woman at her word, because you can take a woman at her word in the moment, right? Because everything a woman says to you, you as a man need to train yourself to add the following phrase to what a woman is telling you. I feel this thing, or I hate you, or I don't love you, for now. It's all about for now. You have to add on the word or the phrase for now to literally everything a woman says to you. Because everything a woman says to you, every judgment that she makes is finite. It is very finite. It expires, and it expires quickly, because she's going to change her mind and change the goalpost as a result. It's very finite. So everything a woman tells you is for now. It's for now. It's not permanent. All female judgment is projection. They are projecting. And if a woman is judging someone else, like I said, they've either done it themselves. So basically, when a woman judges, she's being a hypocrite by default. She's either doing it now, done it recently, or has done it in her life. So, for example, if a woman is accusing a man of cheating on her, that's a major red flag. That is where you need to start reviewing that relationship and really potentially introducing some accountability in the relationship. But how do women respond to accountability? How do you actually hold a woman accountable? Most men think that it is impossible to hold a woman accountable. It is a problem. Now, granted, there are probably women out there, it's like, well, hold on, I've accused men in my life of cheating, but I never had cheated. But the thing is, though, is that if you are actively accusing a man, if you're accusing your man of cheating, if you are actually doing that as a woman, it's because in the back of your mind, whether you're conscious of it or not, you are open to the idea of cheating yourself. You're open to the idea of keeping your hypergamy open, and your hypergamy is unmanaged, and you could potentially, and you actually are at risk of monkey branching your man, basically. All right? So if a woman is actively accusing you of cheating, major red flag, you probably should review that with her immediately. But how do you hold a woman accountable? Accountability is hard. Women run away from accountability consistently, or they dismiss accountability entirely. Holding a woman accountable is really hard because there's only one way to hold a woman accountable. A woman will never admit she did anything wrong. She will never actually submit to accountability unless you, as her man, make her feel safe to do so. She has to feel safe first. Then she will listen to accountability. The difference is that if she is requiring accountability from you, it's probably because she feels unsafe under your leadership as a man. She may feel like that you're not devoted to her already, which is sad, but it's true. This is how it works. A woman cannot be accountable unless she feels safe already. There's a woman in my life right now. This woman does not belong to me, but she is avoiding accountability at every step and every turn because she feels safe, and she does not feel safe around me. She feels like her position is threatened. She feels like she's lost favor with me. She feels like I have a problem with her. She feels ignored, and she's very scared. So me attempting to even hold her accountable is not going to do any good. I'd have to give her some speech about how I'm not going to abandon her, or how it's not that I don't want her, or that it's not that I'm trying to shame her, or it's not that I'm trying to guilt her first. I'd have to give her a speech like that to get her to be comfortable and feel safe around me first before I could even begin to criticize her or give her feedback. Because only after I've done those things first, only after I pay the piper first as a man, only then will she feel safe enough to actually receive my words. And then she'll be like, okay, yeah, my bad. Because a woman's solipsistic, selfish nature needs to understand that you're still going to be there for her, that she's still going to get your time, attention, and resources from you, a man, and the benefit of your leadership, the benefit of your devotion, taking care of her needs, emotions, desires, and problems, basically, your devotion as a man, your masculinity as a man. She needs to know that she still will have access to that moving forward, for her to feel safe enough to accept any form of accountability that you hold her to. That's just how it works. But then some of you guys out there just want to point the finger at your woman and claim that she's lying to you. How can a woman lie to you if she's changing her mind every 10 seconds or every 10 minutes? She herself oftentimes doesn't even know what she's saying. So you as a man, when your woman is telling you to your face how much she hates you, or how much she doesn't love you, or how unworthy you are, or XYZ bullshit thing that she'll say to you, and she's just being silly, she's just being a silly girl, because all women are silly girls, let's be honest, they're all silly. You should just be thinking to yourself, yeah, whatever, and just dismiss it. Just be like, okay, cool, whatever. Next. And then your objective at that moment as a man, you should just be working hard to make her feel safe by making sure that she understands that you are still devoted to her, even though you might actually give her negative feedback and criticize her. And then only after you've established her feeling safe and her feeling secure with you in your life, then you criticize her, and then she'll actually be willing to take full responsibility for her actions, and then she will listen to the accountability as a result. This is literally how female judgment works. Can you imagine having a woman who's like a leader of a country, or even a military leader, like a general, a woman who's a general, who will not be held accountable by any of her superiors at all unless those superiors make her feel safe and secure in her position first? Could you imagine that? See, there's a reason why there is not any female generals, folks, in the military. There's a reason why, okay? There's a reason why there is no military top brass that are women, or at least women that succeed as military top brass. There's a reason. And it's because the military is all about accountability and holding people accountability for, like, for example, not following orders. It's all about accountability. And women run from accountability because they're scared that accountability leads to abandonment, or that accountability leads to them being cut off from access to the time, attention, and resources, the masculinity, the masculine leadership, the masculine devotion from a man. And they run from it. They run from accountability, or they dismiss accountability, or they're not even going to consider accountability. Because if they feel safe, their solipsistic, internalized, innate entitlement will get in the way consistently. And there's literally nothing you can do about it as a man. Because all female judgment is a projection. And if a woman is accusing you of something, she is just as guilty in the moment, or has done it recently, or is considering it silently, whether or not she's conscious of it or not, or has done it in the past. She's being a hypocrite. She's being a hypocrite. Think about it this way, like, men have to be so careful around female judgment, because here's the thing, like, if you're a man and you're putting your women in a place where they are feeling safer around other men, you're basically setting them up for failure with their own hypergamy. Why do you think the genders have been separated for so long? Because men understood that women cannot be trusted with their own sexual strategy. Women cannot be trusted to not cheat, basically, because if they are allowed to take the time, attention, and resources from any man, she will have to then prove her femininity towards those men and reciprocate to those men, and that could lead to her cheating on you as a man. Whereas you as a man should basically oftentimes work very hard so that when any time she's interacting with another man, you are present, able to filter what he's saying in the form of your judgment, so that she can perceive your judgment in a way that is beneficial to her, and she is proving her femininity towards you and not giving her femininity towards another man, right? And this is why oftentimes men don't even realize, especially in the workplace, that, if your wives or women are in the workplace and they do not have the social skill of rejecting men offering her time, attention, and resources on the spot, as mature women should be doing, mature feminine women should be doing, then they're basically being hoes. They're being whores. It's whoredom. It's called monkey branching. It's called unmanaged hypergamy. It's evil. It's wrong. It's the greatest sin that a woman can commit. It's also known as committing adultery, okay? Even if it's in a non-sexual way, it is still technically infidelity, okay? The thing is that we as men need to make sure that we are not setting up our women for failure, but also at the same time, women need to understand that it is their job to make sure that they are rejecting all men who give them time, attention, and resources on the spot, and then running to their actual man and informing them of the situation. That's a real woman. That's a really good woman. That's a woman with really great perception. That's an amazing woman. But think about it this way. If you're a woman and you're at work, right, and you're in a situation where potentially, your man is not there to protect you or make you feel safe at work, naturally you're going to open yourself up to the men at work that make you do feel safe. You see what I'm saying? And that too ends up becoming a problem. And you're going to have to reject those men in the workplace, which puts you in an awkward situation as a woman. It makes you feel even more unsafe, to the point where your performance at the job may actually go down and you could find yourself actually being fired, which is really bad. You could actually say that this is one of the arguments as to why the wage gap may exist. Some people say it's a myth, some people say it exists. I could actually argue both sides of it pretty easily. And that's technically immaterial for this lecture. But yeah, folks, you all got to realize this. You all have to understand that this is just the plain, honest truth. Men, stop accusing women of being liars. They are not conscious oftentimes as to why they say what they say anyway. You can just dismiss what they're saying. Make sure that you are proving your masculinity to them and informing these women consistently through action, not just words, that they still have access to your masculinity, time, attention, resources, needs, emotions, desires, and problems, your devotion, your masculinity, and cause them to feel safe and secure in their standing with you. And then you can hold them accountable, right? And you can bring what is unconscious to them to be conscious. Carl Jung says that life is about bringing the unconscious into the conscious, essentially, and making the women conscious of what's actually happening and the stories in their head which are not actually true, okay? You should not set them up for failure in this way. But you should also hold them accountable, but you're not going to be able to do that without first proving and reproving your masculinity to the woman first, and then you can hold her accountability, and then she will receive that accountability with you, and then she will change for the better underneath your leadership as a man. You won't find the black pill teaching this. You won't find MGTOW teaching this, okay? You won't find the red pill teaching this, idiots. I do have some respect. I have respect for Rollo Tomasi. I have respect for a lot of red pillars out there, but they consistently miss this point. And then you have Zach Rody out there who's actually going a little too far on the blue pill side. So all these people are extremes, and they don't even understand the balance of it. They don't understand the dance between the masculine and the feminine. They just don't get it. And I have not met anyone who can actually properly articulate these things. Okay, but I am able to articulate these things. Mostly because I pay attention to everybody. I read everyone's perspective, and I'm able to arrive to my own conclusions. Not only that, I have the benefit of the perception of the women in my life to actually be able to provide me with even more input and more information than I had previously in order to sharpen my judgment even further and push my judgment even further to be able to benefit all of you within the Ego Hacker community, right? That's what I do on a consistent basis, right? Anyway. Because of these things, because oftentimes women don't even realize their own feelings and where they're coming from, and they're being conditioned to reject their feelings and act more like men, these women end up becoming like faux men or wimpy men, and then they're put in leadership positions, and that puts literally everybody else at risk around them as well as themselves. They become a danger to themselves and everyone else around them. And we see this all too often with the Peter Griffin and Homer Simpson and Tim Allen archetype within the home, basically, where they are being subservient to the female judgment when all the judgment is actually bad and based on projection and not actually based on truth, not even remotely. It's not based on truth. Men can compartmentalize their emotions where they can actually make decisions unemotionally, whereas women cannot. And women oftentimes don't even know where the source of their emotions even are at or where they're even coming from. So they shouldn't be really trusted to, yes, Ray Romano, thank you. They shouldn't actually be trusted to make these decisions. Really, it's up to the man to be making these decisions, and for good reason, right? And then if they are making bad decisions, obviously the women should be held accountable, but they can only be held accountable after the man, are proving your masculinity to the woman and reassuring them that they have continued access to your masculinity moving forward, and then you can hold them accountable. The thing is, though, is that if the woman that you're doing this with does not belong to you, then you should be encouraging her to do that with her man. And then also you should be making sure that she's rejecting you and other men who are doing that with her, essentially, and going out of your way to inform her man that this is actually happening. Otherwise, she's basically sabotaging herself. And women already have to deal with other women sabotaging them or setting each other up for failure consistently through witch energy or crone energy, which is the dark energies of the matron archetype, as we've discussed in season 13 content playlist here on the YouTube channel. That's a big issue. The shadow archetypes of the matron, okay? But they're not even consciously aware that they do this, and men used to be conscious of this, but masculinity has been hidden from men so much that men are no longer even conscious of these issues or these archetypes. And then because of that, they're not teaching their sons about these things anymore. So as a result, masculinity is dead. There's no actual male leadership. Women are being forced to take on leadership positions that they shouldn't be taking and they don't even want to take, and setting themselves up for failure and ruining their own lives and sabotaging themselves and sabotaging each other, which is literally creating chaos. Which is funny because when you consider Jordan Peterson, who's talking about bringing order to chaos, he himself is not even aware of how culpable and responsible he himself is in this area, because he himself is not even able to actually to articulate it properly. And I'm literally here to stand before you now that I can articulate it better than even Jordan Peterson can. And I would challenge him on this directly. Hell, I can articulate it better than Myron Gaines or Rollo Tomasi or any of those people on the manosphere or the interwebs. I literally can. But for some reason, they can't, because they're still having to deal with their bullshit societal conditioning that led to the red pill or the black pill or the Jordan Peterson's men's movement, all these things, which ultimately end up still failing to teach men how to be men and how to act, especially around women, not just for their own sake, but also for the sake of the women in their lives. This is why we have this problem known as fatherlessness. This is one of the main causes to fatherlessness, and that is male mismanagement of female judgment, literally, okay? So, men, stop claiming that women are liars. They themselves don't even know what they're talking about, and they're changing their mind rapidly. So stop doing it. Men, yes, hold your women accountable, but make them feel safe and secure and reassure them that they will still have access to your masculinity and your leadership, and then they'll be willing to take accountability for what they've done, and only after that point, okay? And then also, men, do not put women in leadership positions, okay? Unless they have strong masculine leadership over them, who are overseeing them, leadership that you agree with and leadership that you're okay with leading them to be under those leaders, and those leaders are committed to you in as much as you are committed to them, where you can trust them with your woman in those particular situations. Otherwise, no shot. No shot, gentlemen, no shot. Because you are literally setting up your women and their hypergamous sexual strategy up for failure. To the point where they oftentimes feel like they can blame the men in their lives for their misuse of their own sexual strategy. Well, too bad, in the eyes of God, that's not the case. Women have to be educated, and here's the other way you lead women in this way to manage their judgment. They have to be educated to reject men on the spot when men offer them help, offer them sympathy, offer them empathy, offer them time, attention, and resources, offer them devotion in the form of taking care of their needs, emotions, desires, and problems, right? If a man is offering this to your woman needs to be taught, or your daughters need to be taught, to reject them on the spot, okay? And then come to you for those things, as it should be. That is a sign of a good woman, okay? A mature woman. Do that. And then also hold your bros accountable and make sure that your bros are not offering empathy or sympathy towards your women. Many a man in my life has ruined their relationship with me because I've made myself very clear to them to not do this around my women, and then they do, so I end up cutting them out of my life in the process because they are being irresponsible with the sexual strategy of hypergamy and any woman that they encounter. It's actually fundamentally ridiculous. And I hate it. I wish they wouldn't do it. Let's see here. Okay, let's see if some comments here. Let's take a look. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Cool. Okay. I don't see anything. Okay. All right. I don't think I've... Yeah, it's just cold. Stop complaining about how I'm like dressed like right now. Come on, it's just cold outside. Get over yourselves. Big freaking whoop. Y'all are weird. Funny and weird. Yeah, let's not learn about female psychology. Let's just learn about how Chase is dressed right now. Okay, that's cool. I really don't care. You all are funny. Yeah, I had a cigar. It was nice. I enjoyed it. Thank you. So, yes, I'm silly, I guess. Thank you. Okay. Whatever. Thank you all, I guess. All right, cool. Well, if you found this stream useful, helpful, educational, or enlightening for this episode, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. And also, folks, we've made huge headway in personality disorders, and we are finally breaking into psychiatry with Jungian analytical psychology. If you want to learn more, watch the Cutting Edge podcast featuring yours truly in the May 2024 episode, available in our Precision Psychology membership. If you want to become a member, go to uja.app/pricing. That is UDJA.app/pricing. And go ahead and get a membership there. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching and listening. And I'll see you guys on the next episode.